thank you so much for joining me for Lunchtime Look. My name is Sharon Rogers and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. And this is my Stampin' Buddy Crash. And every Thursday we like to bring you a short video with some stamping fun in it. Why not break up that day a little bit, whether you are at work taking a lunch break, or perhaps you are at home relaxing, or maybe catching the replay a little bit later. Now, today's project is a continuation of Technique Tuesday's class. So we're going to be using the Emboss Resist technique, just a slight variation from the things that I showed you on Tuesday. Let's get started. I'm going to begin with a small piece of Designer Series paper from the Florals in Bloom Designer Series paper collection. And I've used a lot of this paper already. Love this one. It's got some pretty florals on it. And this one, I love this pattern, but I really love the one on this side. I just love the colors. However, for this technique, I'm going to be using this side. Now this measures 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And I'm going to cut this into 1.5 inch strips. And this middle strip, which it doesn't really matter which one is the middle one, I'm going to use the emboss technique on it. So this is going to be another version of the Joseph's coat or blackout technique, except instead of brushing on some color first and then stamping something to resist over the top, I'm just going to use Designer Series paper. So let's go ahead and bring in that same stamp that I used in Technique Tuesday, this little leafy stamp here. And we are going to emboss this in clear. I'm just going to put a couple of, in fact, I think I might just put, no, I'm not going to put just one. I'm going to put a couple on there. I can't decide what I'm going to do, so we'll see how this works. Take my Versamark, and we'll stamp one there, and we'll stamp one over here. We're going to call that good. Now we need to emboss, and remember we used clear embossing because we want this pattern to show through. So I marked my clear one. I marked my white one with a W, so I know the other one is the clear one. Ooh, I didn't use my embossing buddy to start. Hopefully that'll be okay. It is very hot out when I'm filming this, so it could be that there's going to be some stray powder sticking to where I don't want it to be sticking. Let's see what we got here. And it's really hard to see on this paper, but I covered it pretty well, so I should be good. Let's go ahead and move my powder out of the way. And I'll get my heat tool out and we'll start to heat that up. So remember, when you start to see the shine, that's when you move it along. And this embossing powder is going to resist the ink that I'm about to put over the top of it. Now, let's look at the colors on the back of this paper so we know what colors we have. We do have, let's see, Secret Sea, Shy Shamrock. We have a garden green in there. I thought that perhaps there was a shaded spruce, but apparently there is not. So garden green is the darkest. I'm going to show you what happens that instead of using blackout, let's try green out and see how that works for us. So I'm going to take my garden green pad going to ink it up really well and then just brush over the top. Now remember, you want this to be really, really dark because you don't want to see the pattern come through where it's not embossed. I'm going to bring in a paper towel so my hands don't get totally inky. I'm just going to keep applying some ink. Now, if you want it to be a total blackout, you can certainly keep doing blackout, but I can see where I got some excess powder where I didn't want it to be. Those are my little fingerprints in there, I think, that I embossed. This goes to show you the importance of maybe using that embossing buddy from the Embossing Additions Toolkit. All right, so we've got quite a bit on there now. Doesn't look like much. Let's see what happens when we buff off the parts where it's embossed. You can see that you get some interesting designs under there. It will be much more evident if you put black over the top of this. Now what I could do to make it a little bit darker is I could bring in maybe the shaded spruce to darken it up, or I could do some more of the garden green. I think it's fine the way it is. What I'm going to do on my card is I'm going to have both of these together so it straddles that piece that we just did. Let's bring in some of the other colors here in this paper. Some of the other greens are Granny Apple Green and Summer Splash and Shy Shamrock. I'm going to bring in a base of soft seafoam, and then I'm going to take a piece of Garden Green. Let's see how this is going to look on here. I think that's a little bit too dark a background for here. How would this look on here? And then on a background here. Still kind of pretty, still kind of green though. I think what we really need is a piece of basic white just to make those colors really pop off there. And here we go. We'll just have something that looks like that on our base card. Yep, that'll work. And let's go ahead and adhere this. Really, it's too bad covering up this pretty side. By the way, you could have used any design. You could even use chunky words. As long as your design is a little bit chunky, it's got some good solid image spots on there, then it's a good one to use. I've done this with flowers. I've done it with words. Lots of different options here. So I am aligning my left one and then my right one so that the three borders are equidistant here. And then the middle one, only one place for that to go, right in the middle. Makes it a whole lot easier to align. And there we go. We have it lined up. Now we just need to add a sentiment, and we can add a piece of ribbon to this mix. Here's a piece of the 1/4 inch basic white, which we could wrap around here and then just tie in a knot. Let me do that for you. And then this will be where we put our sentiment. So let's kind of affix this over here. And we've got a nice little knot. and it needs to be a little bit tighter. I have found that this woven ribbon, it's got a gauzy feel, which means it's going to stretch a little bit. So just tie it a little bit tighter than you probably normally would. There we go. Let's trim those ends. There, that's going to go on there like that, and we just need a sentiment right here. So let's adhere this with dimensionals. Those are my mini dimensionals. You know what? Here's some leftover paper pumpkin dimensionals. We'll just cut up some of the edges and use those. Never waste the edges. You get quite a few more cards out of them. Okay, all the stickies are off. We'll center that. And now let's just put a sentiment on. So somehow I thought I started recording when I finished the sentiment step, then stopped it and cleaned up. But when I went back to upload and edit my video, I had a video of me cleaning up and no video of me creating this sentiment piece. So let me just explain it. I took the Thanks and Beyond dies. These are a paper pumpkin set that I had from, I think it was 2024. You can buy a coordinating die set that covers 3 months worth of paper pumpkins that coordinates with them nicely. And who doesn't love some dies? You got some basic dies here that go with a lot of things. This is the only one that, you know, you can't really use on its own, but you can use it with the paper pumpkin set. But I just cut a strip of Granny Apple Green, which is one of the colors in the Designer Series paper, and it's 3 1/4 by 1 inches. And then I just mounted that thanks on there and stuck it all on the card with dimensionals. And that's how I got this card. Again, thank you for joining me today for Lunchtime Look. I hope you will give Emboss Resist a go and see how much fun and how easy it really is. I'd love to see your projects, so go ahead and text or email them to me, leave them in the comments on my Facebook page, whatever. I would love to see your results. Hope to see you tomorrow night at 7:30 for Friday Night Live. Have a good rest of your week.